This is called as the Wiggers diagram. This is your Wiggers diagram. It never comes to draw for UGs. It will never come to draw, right? But when you get your practical exams, in the practical exams, a graph of this can be kept to you, and the viva can be asked to you. So as soon as you see this complex diagram, you must remember it is the Wiggers diagram, which is reflecting the various events of the cardiac cycle, that is electrical events, mechanical events, and the pressure volume changes. Right? So जैसे आपको मैंने बताया था end systolic volume, that is after the end of the systole, you are having a small amount of blood volume that is remaining in the ventricles, which we called as end systolic volume. After filling of the ventricles, when the blood is coming from the atria to the ventricles and they get filled with blood, that volume is called as end diastolic volume. So don't get panic, we will be repeating these terminologies again with our cardiac output in the next class. So again they will be repeated, but abhi aap thoda sa, आपने सुन लिया, so second time, when you listen, you will percolate it more into your brain. Now, what is this Wiggers diagram? Just concentrate over the Wiggers diagram. It seems to be very complex, but it is not very complex once you understand it. Now, whenever you study the Wiggers diagram, always begin with the ECG. This is the rule of the diagram, that always begin with the ECG. Right. Now you see that P wave, this is the QRS complex. Okay? This is the QRS complex, which means that there is ventricular depolarization. We know that when there will be ventricular depolarization, the ventricles will contract. That is, isovolumetric contraction is beginning at this point where you are getting the closure of the AV valves, which is coinciding with S1. So, ventricular depolarization, rise in the pressure with the closure of the AV valves, S1. Got it? Now the pressure rises. So this red curve where the pressure is from 0 to 120 is the pressure of the left ventricle. This graph is basically depicting you all the pressures. So जो ये red वाला है, this is ventricular pressure. जो ये dotted है ऊपर का black, this is aortic pressure. ठीक है? So what has happened is that the pressure is rising, rising, rising. You can see at this point, up till this point, the pressure in the left ventricle was always less than that of the aorta. But for this particular period where we have to bring about the ejection of the blood, the red line, right, the red line, which is an indicative of the pressure of the left ventricle, surpasses or becomes more than that of the dashed or the broken line, that is reflecting the pressure of the aorta. यहाँ पर you will see that the left ventricular pressure becomes more than the pressure of the aorta, the point where the aortic valve will open, and once the aortic valve open, you start with ejection. So you can see over here there is ejection. So first rapid ejection, then the reduced ejection, and as there is ejection, there is going to be a point where there is going to be the closure of this AV valve. Okay, there is going to be the closure of this AV valve. So closure of the AV valve means what? Second heart sound. And what will take place when there is closure of the AV valve? That means when the ventricles, they are going to go into diastole, right? That means ventricles are going to repolarize and then they will go into diastole. So there will be T wave. So QRS preceded systole, and T wave, this is the T wave which is preceding the diastole. That is reflecting your ventricular repolarization. So first there will be this T wave, then there will be the closure of the AV valves, and the ventricles, they will go into relaxation. So you can see over here that the pressure is rising but the volume is decreasing. So as the pressure is rising, the ventricles are ejecting their blood and the volume is rising, and this you can see is coinciding with 50 ml. This is what is reflecting our end systolic volume. Right? Now, after this, again beginning of the isovolumetric relaxation with filling, with opening of the AV valve because the pressure falls. So your first rapid filling phase, second diastasis, and the last rapid filling phase. You can see this last rapid filling phase, which we mentioned, the atrial systole, will be preceded by P wave on ECG. That is P wave on ECG. That means you are first going to get your atrial depolarization. The atria will contract and result in the result in the last rapid filling phase. And after the last rapid filling phase, this blood volume is around 130 ml. So 120 to 130 ml, this is the blood volume which is end diastolic blood volume, that is the volume of the blood remaining in the ventricles at the end of diastole. मतलब जब ventricles blood fill कर देते हैं, that is end diastolic volume. So phonocardiogram is the recording of the heart sounds, ECG, ventricular pressure, and this we will see separately, that is the atrial pressure, this we will see separately.